There's a reason Halloween feels different from any other night of the year. The air is colder, quieter. The trees seem to lean in closer. You can almost feel the world holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. When I was younger, I thought the scariest part of Halloween was the haunted houses and fake blood. I never imagined that one night I'd experience something that would follow me for the rest of my life. So, wherever you're listening from, turn off the lights, settle in, and remember, this story is completely true. It happened when I was 12 years old. My family decided to spend Halloween weekend at a small lakeside resort about an hour from home. It was the kind of place that looked harmless in the brochures. 10 log cabins circling a quiet lake, a main lodge where families gathered, and a wall of dense pine trees that stretched for miles in every direction. During the day, the place felt peaceful. You could hear birds, the soft ripple of water against the dock, the occasional laugh from a kid skipping stones. But once the sun went down, the woods transformed. The silence deepened, the shadows stretched across the paths, and every sound carried farther than it should have. The resort staff tried to make it festive that weekend. There were jack-o'-lanterns glowing along the walkways, bowls of candy in the lodge, and flyers advertising a haunted hayride that night at 7. That afternoon, I met another kid named Ryan. He was staying in the cabin next to ours with his parents. We were about the same age, both bored of hanging around adults. And within minutes we were trading candy and talking about what costumes we'd worn the year before. We spent the rest of the day running around the property, trying the carnival games the staff had set up, and talking about how awesome the hayride would be. I remember thinking that it was one of the first Halloweens where I felt a little grown up, no parents hovering, just freedom. When 7 o'clock came, the staff started loading families onto the hay wagon. The tractor was old and loud, with bales of straw laid out for people to sit on. Lanterns flickered on poles along the dirt trail. Everyone was laughing, bundled up in hoodies and scarves. At first, it was just what you'd expect from a family hayride. Staff dressed as scarecrows and zombies jumped out of the woods. Fake screams echoed. People laughed. But then, the torches along the trail grew sparser, and the forest swallowed more of the light. I turned to look into the darkness, and that's when I saw him. He was standing about 20 feet off the trail, just past the line of torches. Jeans, dark jacket, baseball cap pulled low over his face. Not a costume, not a worker, just standing there. At first, I thought maybe he was one of the parents walking ahead of the wagon. But he didn't move, didn't speak, didn't even seem to breathe. He just watched. The tractor jolted forward and the man disappeared behind the trees. But I couldn't shake the feeling that he was still there, somewhere in that darkness, walking alongside us. When the ride ended, everyone piled off, still laughing and talking. I kept glancing around, looking for the man, but he was gone. I told myself I'd imagined it. Later that evening, the resort held a little party in the lodge. Kids ran around with cups of cider. Parents chatted by the fireplace. Someone played old Halloween songs on a Bluetooth speaker. I was standing near one of the windows when I saw movement outside. A shape standing just beyond the glow of the porch lights. The same jacket, the same stillness. The man, he was half hidden behind a tree at the edge of the woods, just watching the lodge. Watching us, I blinked and he was gone. I nudged Ryan and whispered, "Look, right there, by the trees." But when he turned, there was nothing to see but darkness. "Dude, you're freaking yourself out," he said, laughing nervously. Maybe he was right. By 9 o'clock, most families were heading back to their cabins. The party thinned out and the resort quieted again. Ryan and I weren't ready to sleep yet, so we grabbed flashlights and went exploring. There was a trail behind the last row of cabins that wound through the woods. We followed it, talking and daring each other to go farther deeper. The air smelled like pine and damp leaves. Our flashlights cut narrow beams through the dark, catching bits of fog that had settled low to the ground. We walked maybe 200 feet before the path split. One direction led back toward the lake. The other had a small wooden post with a faded private property. "Do not enter" sign nailed to it. Ryan stopped. "Bet you won't go past it," he said. I smirked, took one step forward, and said, "There, your turn." But before he could answer, we both heard it. Footsteps. Behind us. Slow. Heavy. Crunching through leaves. Ryan turned his flashlight around, the beam shaking. "Hello?" No answer. Just another step. Closer this time. And then a voice. "Hey there, boys." My stomach dropped. A figure stepped into the glow of our lights. The same man from before. The jacket, the cap, the stillness. He was holding something small between his fingers, a Reese's cup. "I've got a bunch more of these in my cabin," he said calmly. "Come on, I'll give you some." Ryan froze. The man smiled slightly, like he thought we'd actually follow him. "You don't have to be scared," he added. "I saw you on a hayride earlier." Something about the way he said that, casual, familiar, made my skin crawl. I grabbed Ryan's sleeve and whispered, "Run." We turned and bolted down the trail. I could hear him behind us, his boots hitting the dirt, steady and fast. I didn't look back. I just ran. My lungs burned, my flashlight beam bouncing wildly. When we broke out of the trees and into the clearing near the cabins, we were both screaming. Adults came out onto their porches, confused and alarmed. I looked back, nothing. The trail was empty. Within minutes, our parents and some staff had gathered. Ryan tried to explain between gasps what happened. Someone called the police. They arrived about 30 minutes later and combed the woods with flashlights. They didn't find him. No footprints. No tire tracks. Nothing. The resort manager apologized over and over, promising it must have been some local playing a prank. But my parents didn't buy it. We packed up and left first thing in the morning. Back home, things should have gone back to normal. But they didn't. For weeks afterward, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Sometimes, walking home from school, I catch sight of someone in a dark jacket standing across the street, always too far away to see clearly. Once, I thought I saw him outside a grocery store parking lot, leaning against a car. Every time I tried to look again, he was gone. My parents said I was imagining it, that my mind was playing tricks after what happened. I wanted to believe them, but deep down I knew. Years went by. Life moved on. I was 22 when I saw his face again. It was late one night, and I was watching the local news. The headline read, "Drifter arrested in connection to multiple abductions." The camera showed police escorting a man in handcuffs toward a car. Even under the harsh camera lights, I knew him instantly. The same pale skin, the same shape of his mouth, the same eyes that had watched me from the edge of the woods all those years ago. His name was Daniel Reeve. The report said he'd been living out of an old van, traveling from town to town, targeting places that hosted family events, fairs, small resorts, campgrounds. Police suspected him of luring kids away with candy. They found multiple IDs in his van, several maps marked with circles, and a notebook listing locations he'd visited. One of those names, clearly written in shaky handwriting, was the resort we'd stayed at. My stomach turned. I couldn't look away from the screen. Over the next few days, more details came out. He'd been doing this for years. dozens of reports of missing kids stretching across multiple states. But the one thing that disturbed me most was what investigators said they found in the van: a small collection of Halloween candy, still perfectly wrapped. When they asked him why he kept it, he said, "They always trust candy." I thought that would be the end of it. He was caught, locked away. But about a week later, I came home from work to find an envelope in my mailbox. No return address. Inside was a single piece of candy, a Reese's cup. No note, no fingerprints. The police said it was probably a sick prank, someone who'd seen the story on the news. But they couldn't explain how whoever it was knew my name or address. It's been years since then. I don't live in the same town anymore. Every Halloween, I still lock my doors early. I don't go out after dark. And I don't hand out candy. People laugh when I tell them that. They say, "Come on, it's just a holiday." But I know better. Because sometimes, late at night, when I'm driving home, I'll catch sight of a figure standing near the edge of the woods. A dark jacket, a baseball cap, just watching. And every year, around Halloween, I find a single Reese's cup on my porch. Maybe it's a coincidence. Maybe it's someone's idea of a joke. But I can't help thinking back to that night in the woods, the man's calm voice, the crunch of his boots behind us, and I realized something I've tried not to admit for years. We didn't escape him. We just delayed him. If you ever out somewhere quiet this Halloween, and you think you see someone standing just beyond the light, don't stare too long. Don't try to convince yourself it's nothing. Because some people don't wear masks to scare you. Some people wear them because they've been waiting for you to forget. And they never really stop watching.